Hey guys, welcome back to another Aleroart podcast. I'm Aleroart, and today's special guest is an awesome creator, writer, school teacher named Ellie Egleton, and I'm really excited to talk with her. We get to talk about her creator writing process of Power Punch Bootcamp. Power Punch Bootcamp is a comic that I'm working on. I'm very excited for the third book to be created. We are in the process of making that, and I just wanted to interview and get an interview with my little sis across the pond, Ellie Egleton. Guys, check out this next podcast. I want to welcome you to my Aleroart podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. So, just to let our listeners know, welcome my guest, Ellie Egleton, a very awesome, very cool person, and I call my little sis. And we will talk about that in our podcast, explaining that. And I just want to let you guys know that Ellie is a school teacher as well as a creator, writer of our awesome comic, Power Punch Bootcamp. And there is no sound effect for claps, but I am clapping to say welcome. So all in all, welcome again, and thank you for being part and being my guest today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be talking to you on your very awesome podcast.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's very awesome, and it's speaking before it's well overdue, and we needed to create these and talk about our awesome projects that you are creating too. So
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, awesome. If I can ask, where are you from? I know where you're from, but let our listeners know where you're from, and tell us a little bit about you, please.
So, I live near London. I'm in a little town called Shepperton. And
nice.
Shepperton, we have the film studios, Shepperton Studios, and it's about 10-minute drive from my house. My dad used to have an office at the film studios, and so he used to take me and my sister into work. And when we went to Shep Studios, they were filming at the time some of the Marvel projects.
Wow.
And I'll always remember walking down, the street, and a golf cart goes by. And in that golf cart, me and my sister were like, that's Iron Man. That's Robert Downey Jr. looking like dark. And so that goes by really quickly. And then there was a second cart, and there goes Chris Evans,
wow,
Captain America costume. He looked like he was asleep, and someone else was driving him, through the studios. So that's sort of my claim to fame here in Shepperton, where I live.
Wow.
Yes, that's really cool. And I've just been, collecting comics ever since day one, really. My dad's been collecting since the 70s, and so when I was a baby, comics were my bedtime stories. Batman issue 500 was the first comic ever read to me. And
wow.
So Bruce Wayne wasn't even wearing the cape and cowl back then. And I've just grown up loving comic books, and now I'm so lucky I get to work with you on our own graphic novels. Our Punch Bootcamp universe.
Awesome. That's really cool. Yes. That's a really awesome segue from there to Power Punch. That's so cool. As a comic fan, when you read these other comics, they talk about, like, is there something that you related to in the Marvel or DC world that you wanted to create in your own, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that
if
makes
you could share
sense.
with that.
Yeah, I mean, I created, Power Punch Bootcamp, I was about 14, 15 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to sit in like my science lessons. I know I should have been paying attention to the teacher.
Nice.
But I was sort of, doodling in my books and, making bullet points of story plans. And the characters that are in the book do reflect my love for, those traditional Marvel and DC superheroes I've grown up with. And I know I was telling you before that when I was little, I didn't have DC superhero girls or Marvel, Hero Rising. I would pick strong female characters out from like the Batman The Adventures TV show, where I saw Harley Quinn for the first time, Poison Ivy, Catwoman. I became obsessed with the Dark Phoenix saga, but there was never really any like strong female, leads in the wider superhero media. And so, I created Skylark thinking that, she is going to be the team leader. And she's going to show the boys what a superhero can be. And I feel so lucky that comic book media's really caught up with female fandom. Like, we've got the Captain Marvel movie, we've got the Wonder Woman movies. And now, we can go into a Disney store and we can buy a Black Widow or Ms. Marvel dress-up costume. When I was little, I was wearing, Spider-Man and Batman costumes because the female superhero costumes we had to make ourselves.
Yes. Wow, that's very interesting, and that yeah, it's been a long time coming, and I personally believe on that we should always have that from the beginning. And I think as a child, for both boys and girls, it's really weird of us to define the sex of the person. Not to, like, as a child, I love Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And representative of being strong and strength. And I don't know if it's you have to like this because so and so and this and that. But the beauty and of what I always thought Spider-Man was cool, and Stanley speaking about it, when he wears the mask, it's anybody. You didn't have to see the shape. You didn't have to see his ethnicity. It's anyone. And I think that's, for me, for myself personally, Spider-Man was my personal favorite, and then anybody. And now we have the multiverse of different characters, even a little pig as a Spider-Ham. I just think that's what we have. So
no, I love that. It's just about representation really matters. And
yes,
as a teacher, I'm really lucky. I get to work with, the next generation. I work with 5 to 6 year olds. And
yes,
I'm always, that they can literally grow up and be whoever they want to be. And if you're into comic books and superheroes, it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy, or if you're into like, Disney princesses, they're for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what your gender is. You can like what you like.
Yes, I 100%. I am for that. I believe that, and I think that's the way we should have that. And these doors are opening up more, where a girl can like this, a boy can like that, and it's not defined at the end of the day. It's what makes the kids happy. And I think that's one of the things that I think me and you gel really well with, is that believing of what's important is the education for the kids, especially in the art comic book medium, is that this is something to show that they can just, and if I speak for myself and think, is whenever I show my kids the Power Punch Bootcamp, their eyes light up, because it's just the sense of, it could be a wackiness with Bonester. We're name dropping, guys, by the way, because we got cool characters. You got Rock King, and you have Skylark, and you have the characters that are there that maybe they could relate to. Maybe there's something there that makes them feel, hey, this talks to me. And I don't know if how you, just to talk with our audience, when you show your students the book, how they view it is what, just curious to
Yeah,
ask,
of course.
what do they walk away on?
I have a book corner in my classroom, and I love to put all types of text in that book corner, from traditional picture books to child-friendly newspapers and to graphic novels and comic books. And one of the great things about Power Punch Bootcamp is we have designed this universe that is
Nice.
inclusive and is open to all. Like, you want readers to pick up the book and think, hey, I'm a camper, I'm going to Power Punch Bootcamp, and I can walk through the gates to this campsite, and I'm accepted. I can be who I want to be. And at school, the children pick up Power Punch Bootcamp and they look at it. They look at the cover first, and they can see that it's bright, it's colourful, it looks fun. And then they start to flick through the pages, and although they're really little, they can't read all the dialogue. They really study the pictures, and they tell their own stories with the characters, because of the way you draw facial expressions. It makes it so the children can tell their own stories. And it's great. They get to the back of the book and they see the photo of, look, Miss Egleton, that's you. And who's this?
Yes.
It's your brother, say, yeah, that's my friend Ali. He lives in Chicago. He's drawn all of this. He's coloured it in. And then they're like, wow, Miss Egleton, you wrote a book. And then they take, and by this point, the graphic novel's been battered. They've shared it around the class. They've tugged at pages. It's no longer a near mint copy, But they take it, they show their friends, and I just love to see it. And in the book corner, I leave blank comic book page templates, so they can tell their own stories.
That's awesome. That is so cool. I totally could relate with that when I do my workshop with the kids, and I have the books, and I call it battle damage, where it's there's pages that are warped. It's one of those ones where I know certain parts you want to have comics to be mint condition, but the other fact is you have the kids that have the pages like not bent, but they're more of, you could tell that these comics have been read. So I totally relate with that. And then when they do look at the back of the book and they see our faces, I get the impression from them is that they have their own, I don't want to say the word celebrity, but it is in that way, that they actually, and
someone who's actually made a book, and it just shows them that they know us, they know me. I'm there. So if I can do it, they can do it too.
That's 100%. I believe that. And I really want to know what that word is, because my kids, they range from like the first graders to eighth graders, middle school. And that when the eighth graders, they attend the Comic-Con, they do have these, their attitude in the classroom is like, oh, Mr. Alejandro is it's fun and this and that and class. But when they go to the Comic-Con and they see me and they're there with their family, they kind of freeze up. And for myself, I ask them, I was like, hey, I'm still Mr. Alejandro. This is just, it's something about that they see and outside of their room, that they see that Mr. Alejandro is signing books and at events. And they get quiet, and then they start telling their family that he draws for me he draws whatever we want in class and this and that. And I laugh and I tell them, I said, I do this all the time. This is just that when I'm out here, I'm the cartoonist for these books, and I really want to pinpoint their expression when they're just surprised that to have a comic artist for a teacher. As a child, or when I grew up, I wish you wish you had that kind of personal, to have that. I mean, I respect and love my teachers, but I know at the time I didn't understand that you could do this as a living. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful in this day and age of social media and to have that where the kids were able to say, hey, this my teacher is on this comic book website. We have to see them, and something to have that connection go back to the parents to say, we know who you are. And I think you could agree too, is that your students' parents can actually get a sense of who's actually there in the class, where one, like 99% of the times they can't always be there, but at least to know that, oh, you're on this site, oh, you're on this this blog, or you do these events. I take great pride that they could have that sense to know that Mr. Alejandro is there, and that Mr. Alejandro lets them know that no matter where you come from, they could do this too. So that's just my little part in that to add on, if that's cool.
Absolutely, I love that. And you're so right in what you say now about, social media, because obviously, it's February 2021. And now, here in England, we're in lockdown. The comic shops are not open. There are no comic conventions in sight. And, even our schools are shut. To the majority of pupils, the only children going in are children of key worker children and who are vulnerable. And to be able to connect through social media and share, like you and I have recently done a 10-page Power Punch Bootcamp in Lockdown comic. And that's something that, we have really put together to show our students, to tell them that, this is what life's like now, but it will get better. And this comic I've been able to send home to my students and to their parents. And it's just, I'm so pleased we did that lockdown comic book, because the feedback's been so positive. And even the idea that we had about making it black and white so the children can colour it in themselves.
Yes.
Still inspiring that creativity at home when they can't be in the classroom.
Totally, 100% on that. And even the fact to have them contribute in the coloring, it's such a treat. And it's always a treat to see their take on what they think the coloring of the characters are.
Can you remember the cover to X-Men issue 4 where they've coloured the Scarlet Witch in green? It reminds me of that.
I love that. I think that's so cool. And isn't that a play on, like, even with the Incredible Hulk, they changed his color after a while?
Apparently, this is what I'd heard, that they at Marvel were only allowed to use like a limited color palette, and that's part of the reason why Hulk originally was grey. I'm not sure if that's true, or if that's just a rumor that I've heard. But that is what I've heard about the origin of Grey Hulk. My children are absolutely obsessed with the idea of a blue Hulk, and so I've shown them Chris Caruso's mini Marvels. This blue Hulk actually does appear, and they love it. And then they say, well, is there a rainbow Hulk? And at that point, I have to again, print the coloring sheet and be like, here's a Hulk, you design him.
Nice. I love that. And of course, in the DC world, there is a rainbow Batman. He has an outfit. So
oh my God,
that is so funny and cool. I love it. That is awesome. And all these things all do intertwine. So as I'm going through the list of things that we talk about, it's funny because I check mark it and like, oh, that's cool. So that's really, really cool to add on to that. And in that, speaking, and you said it perfectly, is that including the students in the work to let them know that they could do that too is very important. And I know you believe that too. So when you mention the part of color this in, that gives them the feeling of knowing that I can participate.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting down and just accepting it. And I think that's great. I think you plant a seed in their little brains. I like to call it little light bulbs, like little Christmas light bulbs that blink, because it makes them feel like they are a part of it. I can't tell you how many times they went and colored Alley Cat from orange, and they'll say, "Hey, look, I made them this color," and they wait for my expression to think that you're doing this wrong. And the reality, the shades of purple and pinks and yellows, it's so awesome that they took their different perspectives of what they think their character should look like in that. So I think that's really cool. And I know as when I was in school, there was that structure of coloring in the lines and you have to follow this guideline. And if that's the thing for today's, that's fine. But for me, my workshops classes are meant more for self-expression. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think your workshops, I would love to be a student in one of your workshops. But no, you're so right. I mean, as creators and as teachers, what we want to do is we want to not only make great comics that our children can read and enjoy, but we want to make comic books and graphic novels that the children can look at and think, hey, you know what, I really want to add to this universe, or I really want to step in my teacher's footsteps here. I want to create my own stories, whether that's, novels. I'm not talking about 5-year-olds, writing the next War and Peace, but writing their own stories and drawing out their own comic books. And, we're sort of setting the foundation for that, I like to think.
Yeah. That's so true. That's I think in this, kids are being able to participate. It's just so refreshing, and to be able to have that.
And what I also love about comic books is that it can be so collaborative. I mean, looking at me and you, we've formed such a strong friendship over creating comic books. And so for the children, if one of them's a confident writer and their friend's a confident artist, then comic books are a great opportunity to get together, to be creative, to build that strong relationship and partnership, which is all skills that they're going to need, growing up and going through college and uni and, going into work. It's that idea of working with other people.
Yeah. That's definitely that sense of it's such a fortune to be able to do that, and for the next generation and the next generation, how much of these doors are open up for them to see and to be inspired to be a young writer, a poet, an artist, a person that could go in and create with feeling, and knowing that they can just go what they feel and how they see things, that they can just make it instead of following a certain there's just so many doors and possibilities that are I'm just I'm fortunate and very excited to be part of, and to even see what goes even farther in that.
Me too.
It's so
I
cool.
just think comic books are just one tool of being able to use your voice. If you could write a comic book and post it online or photocopy it and give it out to friends, then that's just one way of expressing yourself. Who knows where it could lead.
Definitely. And for that, when you tell your kids in the classroom, like, this is possible, to go in and add and say, hey, comic books are basically drawings of cartoons. And, can you imagine, like, kids, and this has been in different workshops of mine, kids say, I went home and asked my mom, can you put on Power Punch? And to see them say that, you're just, for me, I smile ear to ear, because they've can visualize these as animated programs, and it's so cool that they could see that kids could will tell you the truth, and they'll let you know if it's truthful or if not. And I personally believe that even whenever working on comics, people would ask, like, so how do you go about, know if it works or not? I'm like, well, I have nieces and nephews, and their honesty can tell you with their expression is if the joke is explained with visual, or if you have to explain it word wise. That's, and my personal view is I have to go back and redraw the concept, because that's not explaining well enough or versatile. The illustration should be able to give them the sense of, oh, that's the joke that you're making, or that's the point of that. Like when we do the books or doing the crossover, you have to make it so that the kids can understand why they are fighting the bad guy, and it being an all age, having the relay races and stuff like that. It's just relatable, right?
Absolutely. And I just feel so lucky that we get to work with who our target audience is for the books, because every day, we work with these children and we create experiences for them, such as, sports days and relay races. And then to take that back and have it in the book is just such a treat to see.
Yes, it is. It's definitely that sense of the hours put in, the days, rather it be from the schools, or even, and I know during quarantine we can't go to shows, but we do have our audience on our IG platforms of Instagram and Twitter, and you check us out on Power Punch Bootcamp, and we always have updated posts, and we share content that people can interact with us. And it's just a treat that you see the people that interact and say, yeah, I have the first 2 books, or I have this book, or this page talk to me. So I really feel like very fortunate that when we create, we have a message that definitely gets them excited and related.
Absolutely. I just think we're so lucky that, we've done 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns. First one really did, help us to grow our audience on Instagram. And since then, it's been, we've had messages from people of all ages. But some of my favorites, I remember, a teenager sent us some pictures that they've done. And, I was able to say, this is fantastic work. Keep going. Keep trying to, make comic books. And it's just so funny because when I was a teenager, my sister and I, we created this fanzine called First Class Comic Review. And for the fanzine, we would talk to comic book creators, and they'd give me the same message, don't give up, keep going. And it's just been so nice to be able to do that with the younger generation. And then we're also really lucky that for our second Kickstarter, we were able to get the book in print, funded and in print for the last C2E2 show in Chicago before lockdown.
Yes. Totally. That's true.
And since then we're so aware that so many children are at home, and not all children can afford to buy new books and new comic books. And so one of the things that we've done that I'm really proud of is that we have put the first 2 graphic novels online for children to access and read for free over on our websites.
Awesome. And that website again,
Sorry,
please.
That website, comics.
Power Punch
Yep,
Bootcamp.
and for our page as well.
Awesome.
That's just one of the things that I'm really proud that we've been able to do. We've been able to, give these children in lockdown free graphic novels to read that are hopefully, packed full of fun, characters and funny, colourful moments.
Yeah. That's totally true in that. So that's very awesome. I'm going through and seeing what other things to mention in this. You're answering some awesome questions that I'm just like, as I cross them out, these are really cool.
Oh no, it's
So,
always fun catching up with you and talking about comic books and what we're creating. I'm just so excited about our next project. So looking forward to the third Power Punch Bootcamp book.
yes, exactly. It's definitely a really great treat. It's something that both of us excited about. The cool thing about these books that we do is, in a way, they're all connected, but in a way, each book could stand out in its own adventure. So you could pick up different ones in different order. And though book two will have some new characters, it's going to be really awesome. Ellie wrote some really great characters to say like, well, this is definitely an expand for the camp. Uh, you guys are going to definitely like this story as well as the other ones that were created. It's just a different take, and basically trying to say is you don't have to follow in the sense like in an order. You could pick up these books, and I've been told that before about the first two, and I really think this third one is going to just expand on that.
So true.
What do you think of that?
I mean, whenever I finish a script, I'm always just so excited to send it and to get your initial ideas and reactions. And one of my favorite things you do is when you print the script and you split it into, 10 pages at a time, and you start doing all over the script, because to me, that is, that's a project of life. And your designs for the new characters are they are so good. And I'm just so looking forward to people seeing them.
Yes, and definitely. I know we do little sprouts of Easter eggs of showing on the website, and there is. You guys go onto the Instagram Power Punch page, promotion there. You will see in there a group shot of the characters are on there, and to add on that, there is more characters that will be in there. So it's a nice little like you're gonna see some of the returning characters, but you're gonna see more, and there are gonna be more to follow what the next promotion. So yeah, see, it's just like I want to talk more all about these, but I know we have more adventures that we will share in future podcasts, as well as sharing on our Instagram. So yeah, I think I have all these questions I've just answered. I talked about teaching, talked about comics. Can you tell me, do you have any favorite creators, rather it be in comics or in novel books or in animation? Do you have any uh, inspirational creators that get you
Oh,
motivated,
that's a great
if you will?
question. I think, growing up in the comic book community, it definitely feels smaller, than it is. And I've just been so lucky to be able to meet and to talk to so many fantastic creators. Growing up and writing the First Class Comic Book Review fanzine put us in touch with Todd DeZago, writer of the Papanauts and Telos, and stories an inspiration of mine, because of just his amazing, stories about creating comics. His genuine, love for books that he's made. And you know, he's taught me so much. I remember when I was writing the first draft of Power Punch Bootcamp, he said, you know, don't worry about over editing. This is your first book, and as you publish more, your audience will see, you know, your talent grow. And so Todd has always been one of my, you know, favorite creators, as has the amazing Chris Caruso. I got to know his work through Mini Marvels and his own, you know, independent comic, G-Man. And one of my absolutely favorite, you know, memories growing up in comic books is when we interviewed him for our fanzine and we asked him to draw a cover. And we asked him for a quote. We said, you know, how much would it be for you to draw a cover for us? And he was just so kind. He said, you know, I'll do it for free. And drew this fantastic Christmas cover where, you know, he said, who are your favorite characters? And he drew them around the tree and he put man at the top of the tree. And, you know, he was just so nice. I really hope to meet him one day. So that's just two,
Awesome.
but there's been so many. Me and my sister are really lucky to meet Stan Lee in London at London Super Comic Con in 2012. It was great. We were on the convention floor and we suddenly saw this crowd of people. So we went over to this crowd. We were sort of thinking, what are they looking at? Is it a cool cosplayer, or, you know, what's going on? And Stan Lee was sort of, you know, engaging fans, and we were starstruck. So we sort of followed him and bumped into his agent. And when we met his agent, we showed him the fanzine that we were working on, and we had just done a special Stan Lee issue. And the agent said to us, you know, do you want to come back tomorrow and you can interview Stan? And we said, yeah, yes, please. He had such a,
Wow.
you know, the night before we were just so excited to go back the next day. Oh, it was
I could imagine.
And he let us shake his hand, which is something he'd stopped doing with fans because, you know, as he was getting older, some of the fans have, you know, quite the aggressive handshake. So, you know, he'd stopped doing that, but we got to shake his hands and sort of just talk to him. And we sort of said, do you like London? And he said yes. You know, his wife was from London. That was just a really special 5 minutes, and one that, you know, me and my sister will always cherish. Yeah, no,
That's beautiful.
He was so nice. And, you know, there have been so many creators. You know, every time we've met Dan Slott, he's always had so much time to talk to my sister and I. And Mark Miller as well has been amazing. I remember he did his very own Kapow comic convention. Yeah,
that's right.
And we went, and I remember lining up for 2 hours to meet him and to get my Ultimate Fantastic Four annual issue 1 signed. And, you know, he was so nice. And then a couple of years ago, I flew out to Chicago to meet you at C2E2. And my friend Sajata and I were at the airport going through passport control. And, you know, a few people ahead of us, I thought I saw Mark Miller, and I was like to my friend, I'm really sure that's him. And we got through passport control. We picked up our suitcases, and we got to sort of the waiting area for where the cars were going to come pick us up. And we got to speak to him there. And he's just, again, he's so inspirational. The way that he has created his, you know, Miller World, his own independent comic books, it just really gives me, you know, the hope and the inspiration that creating Power Punch Bootcamp is the right thing to do, and to have your own characters is the way to, you know, move forward and progress and to tell the stories that you want in the comic book world that we love.
Yes, I love that. I love hearing that story all the time. That is so cool. And I mean, it's a thing that just like, I remember when you got here and you were explaining, I was just like, whoa, this is like So cool. So yeah, that's those creators you mentioned, just the list of them, that is so awesome. And rest in peace, Stan Lee. That's definitely always been, I just heard stories, very sweet person to meet. My nephew got to meet him, and he actually got to get something signed from him, and he actually stopped my nephew and says, "Here, hold on." I'm
No,
not really good at Stanley voice, but he goes, "Here." He goes, "Hold on," and he reaches over and he gives my nephew a Scott Campbell drawing of him with Spider-Man, and it was signed,
wow.
and he signed it again. So he got these three autographs from Stan the Man Lee. So that's so awesome to hear your story and to share about that and all these creators. And I think that's why we're here on this. I call the Earth a blue marble. I believe that we should want to, people leave an impression, and all these names you mentioned are totally true. Some of them I've got to meet, others I've just heard stories, and it's just so cool. And I'm so glad that in this journey that you're consistent and you're creating, and to work with you on these projects, it's just, you could see the progression. So I'm excited, and I can't wait for the project after this book, for the Power Punch Bootcamp, to share the information. But that's all I will say for that. Because we will have that for our next time when we talk
We
about the comics. So
we-
let's see. But yeah, you're so awesome at explaining and all these things. So let's see. I just want to ask, what is your thoughts of my
I think
questions
you're
as a
brilliant.
podcaster?
I love an open question that makes about, my
Aw,
experiences in the comic book world, because I'm so lucky as a fan
mm,
to have been able to. I mean, there have been so many amazing creators who I've met: Sean McKeever, Greg Pak, Jeff Parker, Colleen Coover. Just so many creators have been so supportive, whether that's online or at conventions. And also just to be able to have grown up reading some of the stories that I have, I just feel so lucky to be part of this world. And I love how your questions lead me to think about all these, amazing experiences that I, hopefully others, have had.
beautiful. That is so cool. Well, you definitely, everything I've written, I have my Sharpie and my my highlighter, and I'm like, whoa, these are great answers. So yeah, I think I have the questions, and I thank you so much for that. I do ask my final question I want to ask, because I know you're busy. I want you to know that these are very cool and very awesome. I want to ask and end it by just saying, is, as a creator, because you are an awesome creator of your creations, what do you want the next generation to learn from what you do? Do you want them to get from this, in as a creator? What
Well,
would you
I
like to
think
share about that?
as a creator, I'm so lucky that I get to work with you and that I have truly found a friend in you. And I just think that the way that we try to show the process of making a comic book, like, I believe that a comic book can literally start with a sketch in a notebook on a scrap bit of paper. And, you can do a little
Yes.
doodle, you can write a couple of bullet points, and suddenly then you've got a story. And I just think that the fact we have been able to now publish two graphic novels, it just hopefully shows the next generation that if you stick with your ideas and you believe in yourself, and you believe in your project, then you have to see it to the finish line. Don't give up. Don't Any obstacles you run into, there's always a way to overcome them. You just have to do what you need to do to be able to put your book out into the world. And don't worry about sales figures. If you sell you know, one copy of your book, then that's one person who's believed in you, and that one person can go and tell their friends about your story, who will then want to come and, you know, read your work. So I think my message to next generation would be not give up, to see your ideas out. And, you know, even if you're drawing your comic book on paper, which you then photocopy and staple together, do it, because, you know, work is, you know, work gets you more work. And that's what I like to believe, that if you finish a project, there's going to be someone out there who's going to want to read it.
Oh wow, that's an awesome answer. As I stated in the beginning, I call Ellie sis because the things that it's just our years of like how our relationship is of caring, and I just it's just so awesome. I'm trying to find the words. I'm not crying, you are crying. I'm joking. Chopping onions. That is so true. But I think when we work on stuff, it's just to have a broader audience to see that they can do this too. And you said it just like how I go about that too. It's just that that sense of the next generation to see that they could do this, even if it's on a piece of paper folded on in half, stapled. They could do it, and that's totally true. And as long as you get it done, finish, not perfect, and the next one will be better than the last. You definitely put it in the point, and I respect that, and I think that's what we need, more of that in there. And I think you said it.
Thank you. And I am
Perfect in there. So
sister in the comic book world. I mean, I also, call you my big bro. You're my big brother. Thank you for all the guidance that you've given me, and also just believing in Power Punch Bootcamp as much as I do, because I couldn't do it without you.
I think, the stories are heart. They have the heart, and when you work on something that you believe, it will show. And sure enough, 2 books in, 3 books coming, and it's just an awesome project that we can get done, and for people to believe in it, and to be in this other realm where we're in the world of crowdfunding. It's just a perfect fit. So I am so humbled and grateful that we can interact and talk and share, and just have that sense of not having a worry. And that's what our relationship of a brother and sister is that we you are there for me when I need to show work and say, how do you feel about this, as well as you when you look up to me. And I think that's just an awesome thing to do while we work on these. And it's just anytime I'm sorry, if there's anything that you ever felt like worried about, as a big brother would do, is say, well, at the end of the day, I know you're gonna choose what to do. It's just to let you know that you should do it. And I always feel like everything you work on has been, you should have that. I learned that from Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, is that you have to have that sense of fearless. It's okay to be afraid, but when I see what you do, I'm just like, whoa, that's so cool, and you're doing it. So I applaud you on that.
I'm just so pleased that we can bounce ideas off each other, even though we're across the pond. We've got that 6-hour time difference. We always have to at least talk once every other day, and just so much fun making comic books with you.
Yes, as I am too. And I know the audience, they will check it out. I will have the link for the website to share. If you can you want to share again the IG or the
Yeah,
Twitter
absolutely.
or the
So
website again?
you can follow us on Instagram at Power Punch Bootcamp. I have Power Punch Bootcamp material on my website, Ellie Makes Comics. And I know you do too, Ali, on your website, Aleroart.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Egleton.
Awesome. This is very awesome to do. I'm very excited. I love all the plugs that we were doing in this podcast, talking about Power Punch. Power Punch 2 is coming. You guys check it out. We are on Instagram and mentioning Ellie, mentioning Twitter, and all the websites too. I pretty much have everything that I had written down, and I'm very happy to say everything is to cross off we did. So if there's anything else, I just want to say thank
I
you
can't wait to be
for
back
being on
for
the
another
show. So
episode.
yes, more adventures to come. You guys will hear more about the book. We will definitely talk more about creator-owned projects and how we put stuff together in crowdfunding form, how to market. It will be a treat. So I will want to wrap this up now, if that's cool, and say
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much for
Ellie,
having
for
me. It's been
being
a
on today's
pleasure.
show.
And I can't wait to speak to you soon.
Okay.
Bye,
All right.
pal.
Well, thank you again. Take care. I want to thank today's guest, Ellie Egleton, for the awesome interview. I'm Aleroart, and this is my Aleroart podcast, where I talk about comic book, creating content, teaching workshops, and making comic books. Guys, check me out on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I'm Aleroart. My website is aleroart.com. I also have a Patreon you guys can check out, where I post daily content of audio commentary of creating art, fan art, as well as talking traditional tutorials of how I go about creating comic content. Anything as low as $1, you can cancel anytime. I thank you guys for checking this out, and talk soon. Peace.